do I use Stampin' Blends? My name is Karen Slawinski, and I do these quick how do I do videos to help you learn the basics of stamping. So at my recent class, I had some beginners, and I realized that some people don't know the basics about Stampin' Blends. So I'm going to show you just a couple of things. So our Stampin' Blends for our colors come in pairs. So on the side of them, you'll see dark peach pie and light peach pie. This happens to be one of the new in colors. And then on each pen, you're going to have this thin line and this thick line. That relates to the type of tip that we have. So as you can see here, this is a bullet end, so it gives you a finer control. And then the other side gives you a brush tip, which will allow you to do broader strokes. I will say that I often use this end and I don't use this end very often unless I'm coloring a very large area. So I really like the bullet tip end. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that when you are coloring an image, I have stamped a couple things. I've got some leaves and some flowers. You do want to stamp with Memento Black ink. This is a water-based ink, and the blends are alcohol, so you want to use the opposite type of ink. So for instance, if you were watercoloring, you would use the StazOn ink, which is an alcohol-based ink, and then your watercolor is the opposite. So that's how that works. So you're going to want to do that. The other thing that I'm going to tell you is that once you use the blends, they will bleed to the back side. So I'm going to start coloring and just show you how we do this. So for this one, there is a stamp that you would use to color your stamped image if you want. But if you wanted to use your blends, you can go ahead and do that. So I often will use both the combination of the light and the dark, and it really depends on what I am doing. But most of the time, I start with my darker color, and then I'm going to apply that, and then I'm going to blend it out. So for this one, I'm going to start, and I'm not going to color this whole thing, or if I do, I will speed this up. But I usually do some of the darker shades where you might have darker petals or darker shadows. And sometimes your stamps have lines on it. And then we're going to go in with the lighter shade. And then this will blend out. And the nice thing about blends is that you're not going to get the marker lines that you're used to seeing. And so you can just color and you don't have to worry about overlapping where the marker goes. And I just blend right into that color that I had first put down. Okay, so you get a feel for how I better finish this leaf or petal. And sometimes I'll do it, you know, back and forth, and sometimes I do it in circles. And often I will use other shades to blend in. So one of the tips that I recommend is doing some swatching. So here I started out with the light and the dark of the peach pie, and then I did pumpkin pie here. And so for this one, this is a little bit different coloring than this one. It's got a little less yellow, but if I really want some depth of color, I'm going to use my dark pumpkin pie. So I could go in and I could add just a little bit of the pumpkin pie in here in the recesses of these petals. Okay, and that's going to blend beautifully. And then I would probably go back with my peach pie and then just blend this out just a little bit. And you will see sometimes too that they dry a little bit differently than they do when they're first put down. So give it some time to kind of absorb into the paper. So that's how you would use those. So another thing is play around with your colors. So here I have our new in color, which is the Summer Splash. And then I have paired it with our, this is Shaded Spruce. So for this, I'm going to actually start with my dark Shaded Spruce. Now I'm going to go with the light. And then I'm going to go over some of these veins. So I'm using some of the artwork. And then I'm going to go with my next darker color, which is this one here. And I'm going to add some more And you wouldn't have thought to blend these two colors, but because they are the alcohol markers, they do blend, and you can get some very interesting color combinations. So I just want to encourage you to play around, and it helps by doing your swatching. And so there I get that leaf. My favorite combination is usually with Granny Apple Green and Lemon Lime Twist. So I'm going to do this leaf, and I'm going to do kind of the same thing where I'm going to add some darkness here, and then I'm going to work my way into my lighter, and then just keep working my way out to the ends of my leaf here. Next, I'm going to go with my dark Lemon Lime Twist. And I'm kind of going over the area that I've already colored. That is just my choice that I like to make it blend. And that's one way to do it. And then I'm going to work my way all the way to the edge of this leaf. And sometimes I'll just kind of go over the whole thing. And there you get some beautiful shading. Two different looks for your leaves. A couple other things that I do want to point out. Oh, let me show you the back sides. You can see how they bleed through. All right, so there's a couple things that you might miss in the catalogs. So the first thing is that we do have these ivory and bronze markers. They come as a pair. So these are great for basic skin tones. We also have a color lifter. So if you make a mistake and you go out of the lines, this will help you to push that ink back in. So those are two things that you might miss. And then the last thing I wanted to show you is that we have a whole series of markers that are meant for skin tones. So they go from very dark all the way to very light. And so you can buy these in pairs like this. So that is the basics on using Stampin' Blends. I hope you've enjoyed this.